Welcome to Late in 88. I'm Bronwin Parks here with my co-host Elinor Svoboda. This season, we're exploring our graduation year in 1998 and the intense challenges of growing up queer and gender nonconforming in conservative Calgary, Alberta. Today, we're hanging out with our classmate Courtney, where we talk about her experience in the 90s growing up in a modern family long before TV made it mainstream. This heartwarming story of friendship and family was such a good hang and will hit you right in the feels if you let it. So come on in and get cozy with us. Thank you so much for being here, Courtney. It's so great to see you. You were not with us in season 1, which is okay because you went to elementary school different from us, but you did join us for grades 10, 11, 12. Our groups kind of merged and we became this group of outcasts. I know you know me sort of better than Elinor, but maybe thinking back, how do you remember Elinor and I?
I remember Elinor as Ellie and just this really cool, fun skater chick, you know, like kind of alternative-y. Like that's the memory that I have. And I can think of the group of friends. I think, Ellie, the first time I met you might have actually been at Steve's.
Oh, really?
You know, having those sort of satellite friends, we weren't in exactly the same group, but our friends group kind of crossed around. And so it was just sort of random. Again, that's the darn smoke doors, right? It's those conversations that happened while we were all congregated out there. But I just remember happiness and smiles and a bit shy, but yeah, that's my Ellie remembering.
Love
And
it.
Bronwin, oh gosh, where do we even start? I mean, we were really good friends. So it's not like just a snapshot memory. I think one of my absolute favorite memories was going to the Church of Yearwood concert. That one was super exciting for us. I think for me, remembering that everyone really saw Bronwyn as sort of this like tough, guarded person, but she's hysterical. You know, like I remember in high school having these conversations and your softness and your intellect and just getting to know you a little bit on that deeper side and exploring who you were. Going for car rides. Like I don't even know whose car we were in and we were cruising the neighborhoods and I don't know. It's just a smash of memories for me.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thinking about you, Courtney, like you were always like sort of like the upbeat one of our group in a lot of ways. And like I feel like you were kind of like the emotional core. Like sometimes when things were getting like really out of hand, I feel like sometimes like you were the one that like kept us from going like fully off the fucking rails. Like even though there were times when sometimes like you might be the one pulling us off the rails, like I would look at you and you get this sort of like look on your face almost like oh no, this is not good. We were a very mobile group. That is sort of like a privilege that we did have. Like so many of us either had our own cars, and now to be clear, they were not nice cars. These were Berta beaters, cars that you don't see on the road anymore. Like vehicles that have been discontinued. My parents' Buick station wagon or whatever. We were up to a lot of shenanigans all over the place. I always felt like you were kind of a bit of our like moral compass. And
I love that. I always I remember I'm even telling my stepson this, that I hung around with very adventurous, very free people. And I wasn't a stick in the mud and certainly not a prude. I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need to get in that cut. You guys go ahead without me. I don't need to be part of that.
I love how you call them very adventurous. I feel like that is...
was that a politically correct way to say that?
It's just a really great way to frame it, actually. Yeah. I love it. Not that when I say it, I don't know exactly what it is, but given the impression I've gotten from Bronwyn, I'm like, adventure, yeah. That's a good word for it.
Do you like the smell of adventure? Of course you do.
I had to pull out the yearbook, Courtney.
Love it.
Because I feel like I couldn't get a picture of you in my mind. Here, there you are. Can you see it?
Yeah. I know she had such a hot high school fucking grad picture. I'm like,
you do like you really look like you have your shit together. And when I saw your photo, that actually was some of my memory of you. A feeling of somebody who was kind of stable in a weird way. Like that sounds terrible, but I didn't necessarily have that feeling around a lot of people in high school. don't specifically know who it was, but somebody in my crew had a big crush on you. So there was talk about you on and off quite a bit.
Stop.
I
I
know, and
need to know who it was.
I'm trying to remember, but I'm like, oh, so for me, it was like, oh yeah, Courtney, she's cool, and blah, blah, blah has a crush on her. Like, I remember feeling like, yeah, I get it. Like, she's super pretty, and she seems really, like, stable, and, like, also kind, and just, like, you seem to me like a trustworthy person. I don't think what we were doing was ever an important detail in high school.
No.
Don't think that was the point.
We would just fucking drive around.
Where
Like we
were we going?
we burned so much fossil fuel.
Yeah.
Like
Back when it was only
caused
50 cents, though.
well, it's true. Like, to be clear, gas was like 35 cents a liter.
Those are some Alberta glory days.
Oh, back in the day. Back in my day.
That's exciting.
Just
But what are you going to do when it's cold out and you need to smoke? You know,
Oh,
you got to
shit,
drive
right?
around.
Oh my God. You got to warm up the car somehow. Out of all of the places we hung out, where were your favorite hangouts? Like both at school and away from school?
I forget a lot about high school. I truly do. And I was drug and alcohol free in high school. I was actually Elinor, I was very stable. So I was pool halls. Yeah, definitely lots of pool in those years for me, and hanging out at Denny's.
We went to a whole bunch of pool halls. I remember we were like,
Because we were so mobile.
yeah, we did a lot of pool play. It's how I got so good at pool. That was
I
like one of our
also played
jams.
pool. Steve and I played pool
Yeah.
all the time. Did we ever
It was
play
great
pool with
because
you
you
guys?
could like it was super cheap. You can go and you can
Yeah.
play for hours, and
And
it's
you
like a
smoke.
group activity, and you can smoke.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. We had to be so creative as teenagers about where
Yeah.
we could go to smoke. So you found these pool halls, and they wouldn't stop you from smoking. They wouldn't serve you alcohol, but you could
Mhm.
smoke.
I'm sorry, it's just tripping me out that you guys were at the pool hall in the Denny's and we were at the pool hall in the Denny's, but somehow we weren't together.
I just feel like this is very on brand for our podcast, and the whole like we just like very much did the same thing, just didn't connect.
Like, I could have just
Yeah.
walked over to your group and been like, what are you guys doing? Then you would have passed me like a cigarette and a joint and be like, want to come to the pool hall? And I'd be
Yeah,
like,
be
totally,
like,
I was on my way
"Let's go,
there.
bro."
But that pool
Like-
hall, not that one.
Yeah, here, get in the car. We'll drive you. What was your style in high school?
I just thought I was kind of just a blender inner, to be honest. Am I wrong?
She's wrong. She was a stone fox, and there was no way for her to blend
Well,
in.
clearly someone I knew had a big crush on you, and it was it went for a while.
So did I. So,
See?
so yeah, to be fair, there was no way for Courtney to blend in. She was very hot. You would have starred in the rom-com of our high school. You would have been that girl.
Okay, I'll buy that for sure. I know I had the baby doll dresses and that.
I've always felt like you were a little bit more on the preppy side. That's how I remember you.
I would even give that for sure. Yeah. I was with, as you had said, Bronwin, sort of this group of outcasts, but I looked more the mainstream kids.
I think back to my experience kind of feeling like the only gay in the village. And then I remember finding out that you had 2 gay dads. I wanted to talk to your dads alone so bad, and I could never find a way to talk to your dads alone so bad. Do you know what I mean? I know. But it meant that I would have to come out to you, and that was really scary because prior to like hanging out with all you guys, like when I was like 13 and 14, like in junior high, and I had come out to people, I had lost some friends, right? So like I really loved all you guys, and I didn't want to lose any of you. And so in my head, like even though it's like, oh well, she's obviously got 2 dads, I don't want to like it's probably going to be fine.
My mom and my dad got married in the late 70s. We're together for a few years, and through nothing to do with anyone's sexual orientation, their marriage just did not work. And then my dad met Eric right around the time that my mom and dad were getting separated. I think it's important to note that as this was happening, my mom was actually pregnant with me. So when I was born, my parents stayed together for about 8 months just to make sure that everything was settled. And then my dad moved in with Eric. So they've been together. It'll be 45 years this June. I know, it's amazing. So I was really, really fortunate. I got co-parented by 4 really great parents. My mom had a stable relationship forever. Like he's still there. So they met when they were kids and reunited when I was 2. So I've had 4 stable parents my whole life, and they lived several blocks apart. It's amazing. My dad and Eric always tell the story about my dad, and I think this sets the foundation for probably who I am and the way I was brought up in this very interesting family. When he decided that Eric was the person he wanted to be with, he presented himself on Eric's doorstep with me in tow at 8 months old and said, if we're going to be forever, my daughter comes with it, that we are a package. And if you can't accept that, then this isn't happening. Thank goodness it was accepted, because I could not imagine my life any differently. When people ask me what it was like, I think, well, I don't know, because it was my life. Looking back on it in the lens of an adult, the dance that I had to play sometimes. I spent weekends at my dad's and weekdays with my mom until I was 15, and then I moved in with my dad full time. But before that, when I was younger and I'd meet neighborhood kids and I'd want them to sleep over, it was always oh, I don't know, I don't think so. If you want to stay at their house, that's okay. And I didn't understand, because this was, the probably the late 80s, early 90s, and realizing that at that point, my dad and Eric were scared. They didn't want to have kids in the house because, a gay couple for a lot of people was associated with, I don't, saying this makes me sick, was associated with like pedophilia and other nefarious, horrible things. And it took a while for the neighborhood to realize that Lou and Eric's house was a safe house. The kids could go there. They were good parents, whatever. But I remember showing kids around my house, as you do when you're a kid, and you want to come play with my house, and this is my room. And then I'd get to my dad and Eric's room, and I would say, this is my dad's room, which was clearly a bedroom that two people lived in. Like, there was pictures and clothes. And then I'd trot them down the hall, and I would point at the very empty, very barren spare bedroom and say, that's Eric's room. And I was obviously taught to do that with strangers. And as an adult looking back, and the amount I love my family, it's heartbreaking. But now to realize how much that has changed, and how I don't even hesitate anymore to say they're my, these are my parents. Oh, it's my dad and Eric. Who's Eric? My dad's husband. I don't even call him my stepdad, because that doesn't feel right. He's just my Eric. I don't know. I mean, it was interesting. I certainly feared telling people. I think, Bronwin, very similar to the same fear you had coming out. It was a coming out for me. It was that very vulnerable place where I didn't want anyone's opinions to change of me, but I was so fiercely protective of them. It's funny, because I remember you told me once that you had thought that I was actually homophobic, because every time something had come up or people were saying things about gay, I would shut down, I'd be defensive, and I didn't realize it was coming off as a phobia, whereas to me, it was a fear, where I didn't like what people were saying and I wanted to fight back and I wanted to advocate, but I was too scared to do that because I didn't want to be put in a box of being different somehow, and yeah, so it was a fear for me to come out in a way and tell people who my family was. I saw a lot. I mean, this was the 80s and the 90s. So if you can imagine what a gay couple with gay friends would be living through in the 90s and 80s, I learned about AIDS at a very young age. I learned about safe sex at a very young age. And I think you nailed it, Bronwin. I learned about acceptance and inclusion very young, because there was a lot of different characters in my life. And yeah, it was my life. So
It sounds like you were also brought up with a very real fear in the house of exposure. So it makes sense that you also carried that fear of being exposed, and it wouldn't have been like a conscious thing of that you're ashamed or anything. It's just, I'm a parent now. I don't know if you're a parent, but all the things you do, you're not telling your kids what you're doing, but the way that you are thinking about protecting them and loving them. And I can only imagine during that time how conscientious and how thoughtful, it sounds like that they would need to be. And that's all coming from love, right?
Absolutely.
That's coming from their love and commitment. I get why you're so stable now. Like, look at you. You had this like amazing stability.
I think I was probably about 17 or 18, and my grandpa had died, and my dad had bought a winter coat and bought one for my grandpa at the same time. So my grandma gave the coat back to my dad. Here's your dad's coat. You can have it back. So we had these 2 winter coats, and Eric needed a coat. So Eric was wearing a winter coat that was identical to my dad's winter coat. And they tried to leave the house wearing the same coat. And this had to have been 97, 98 somewhere. I flipped out, absolutely lost my mind. I was so scared. It felt like if they went out in a matching uniform, they were calling attention to themselves and someone was going to hurt them. And so I think that's where my fear was coming from. Like, they did not raise me to be scared, but they were fairly open. Like, they didn't hide. They just had to be cautious. But I had fear. We look at what was on the media at the time and what was happening to um, especially men in public that were coming out. I just remember thinking, like, you're going to go for coffee dressed like that on 17th Ave, you're going to get jumped. Someone is going to hurt you. And like, it's just not the same all these many, many years later. Thank goodness. But those are the memories I carry. So that's for that was that trauma for me of being really scared for my parents.
And I think that goes towards, like, sort of like that caregiver side of you. I kind of feel like you were almost a caregiver of our friend group too. You loved them so much and you knew what, like, you can't avoid the media, right? Even like, it's why I was so nervous. Like, you can't avoid what was, in the media, in television, in everything. Like, it was very clear in Alberta, the sentiment towards queer people and in general in society.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, it's not an unfounded fear that something might happen. I mean, even from just a cringe factor alone, it's like, Jesus Christ, guys. You cannot leave the
I mean,
house.
that aside, like, yeah, I mean, if even a heterosexual mom and dad be like, come on, do you guys really need to go out in like matching,
Yeah.
hoodies? Like, do
For the real, honest to God. One of my favorite memories of us is like the coming out moment at like Louis, like having to smoke. And when you were like so incredulous of being like, why were you afraid to come out to me? Like, I have 2 dads. Like, you were so like, you fucking idiot. Like, what? And but then like the next day, like, you were so excited to tell your dads, and then your dads were like, I fucking knew it.
Yeah.
Like, your dads were like as excited that I finally came out. And like,
oh, my dad was like, I knew it. And I just remember Eric was on the couch with the paper and he's like, that's nice.
like, yep, we know it.
Still remember, I just remember you telling me and hesitating and trying to spin it out, and Lisa was beside you and she kept elbowing you saying, just tell her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, I thought you were dying. I was so scared. I'm like, what is happening? And then you said to me, I'm gay. And I went, oh, okay. So like, that's what was so hard for you to tell me? Why me? Like, why was it so hard for you to tell me? Not that it wasn't hard to say. Why was it so hard to tell me?
Well, I also had a crush on you, which was really also challenging, because then I was also like, oh, fuck, now she's going to be like, well, as long as you don't have a crush on me. And it's like, well, fuck, okay, well, now I'm busted. Because, like, most people, it's not a problem. Like, I didn't have a crush on Lisa. I didn't have a crush on XYZ. And Courtney, it's like, well, yeah. But, like, it was easy enough. You had, like, a boyfriend all the time. So
well, I had one boyfriend all the time.
All the time. So it was both the, like, I am nervous about losing a friend, and also, like, I think this girl's really cute.
I just felt you so much when you told that story about the fear about your dads leaving together, like that you had to carry that burden. I think it's a marker of our time. And that's a lot of what we're doing in this podcast, is kind of trying to pin the time a little bit. I was going through my thing with my own sexuality, very like asexual in high school. Also, my gender identity, I think, was a big influence of that too. So I think a lot of, for me, of what we're doing with this podcast is unpacking the factors of influence that sat on top of that process. It's like you kind of play this game of imagining, okay, well, what if I was in a healthy society? What if things weren't, well, if it wasn't so hard, like what would have been like? I mean, maybe it still would have been a road, but it feels like these unnecessary weights you carry and these unnecessary stresses for a thing there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like and yet you're carrying this weight, right? You're carrying this fear, you're carrying doing all of this emotional work. And So I just really value your perspective. We've been talking a lot about our personal experience with our own sexuality, but this perspective of being in family, right, with people who are gay and in that time.
Yes, my dad and Eric are together, and then my dad's brother, so my uncle is also gay, and he had come out around the same time. So there was that family dynamic, and then my stepdad, Eric, his sister and brother are both gay. And so maybe you didn't know this, Bronwin. So I mean, I was just surrounded, like it was just gay. Like it was, but it was so normal. It was so normalized in our house, but there was also so many family dynamics that were happening with that, and a lot of estrangement from families as everyone tried to navigate through that, through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and how things started to turn around. And often wondering how would that play out differently now if it was happening now to a family now.
How we're shaped by our time.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, just how was it for you in high school? Like what were you battling with inside?
I never felt like I fit. I always felt, oh, I don't know, not that I was outside, but that I just never felt like people liked me. I know that sounds crazy because I hear these things and I hear these memories, and it just touches me so much, Bronwyn, to hear you say the things you say, because I never felt that way about myself. I was always so worried about doing the right thing, saying the right thing, and being a chameleon between groups. I could so easily. I just had an aha moment because of the way I grew up. I had to chameleon myself. I had to bend myself into different areas. I always felt like I was having to turn myself into someone else depending on who I was around. Very thankfully, I didn't have to struggle with the who am I. I always knew that I liked boys and I liked being in this body. And I do remember watching friends struggle with that and thinking, God, how horrible, how awful when you're trying to fit in with everything else around you and you're not fitting in with you yourself. So that is the one thing that I'm very thankful for. And people ask me that all the time. What was it like having gay dads? Did you ever have your own, sexual identity struggle? And no, I can say I didn't. I truly didn't. And I remember asking my dad once, how would you feel if I came out? If I was gay, how would you feel? And my dad's answer, I still think, is very profound. He said, I would be sad for you, not for the reasons you think. I don't want you to have to go through the struggles that I had to go through. And he said, you want your kids to be happy and healthy and not have any of those. And as a parent now, I get that, right? You just want things to be as smooth as possible. So for him, he said, I'm so happy that you are who you are and you're happy with who you are. And meanwhile, I never really felt that happy with who I was. So that was it. That was my high school turmoil.
I do think that some of that is the age itself. And yet, what's funny is as we come into these spaces and we say, hey, good to see you again, or hey, I kind of remember you. And then the person that gets described to you is like, oh, maybe that was me. Maybe I was me back then too, to as much of the degree as I could have been. I do think the journey to like the authentic self is a lifelong journey, right? And so in high school, you're like at a certain stage of that. And maybe some of the rawness is more real than what we evolve into in our adulthood. I'm starting to think that. I think some of the gnarly rawness that we're in is actually, some of that raw creative energy, when you're Bronwyn and I are both artists, and like when you're at the beginning of a project and it's at its most raw form, it feels the most real in a way because it hasn't interfaced with the world and gotten clipped and trimmed and edited and reframed and all that. And I'm starting to think about high school like that a little bit. Maybe it's extra authentic, but it doesn't know how to be in the world yet. And so it's extra awkward. I don't know.
Yeah,
I welcome thoughts.
Just messy and chaotic, right?
Yeah.
And greasy and
smelly
and awkward and doubtful.
Yeah.
But I still remember I loved high school. And I don't think I have the same high school memory that like I didn't go to those parties. Like I said, I wasn't at parties. I didn't have the drama. There was a couple dramas, but
I was
nothing.
gonna say,
I
I
mean,
think there's a couple dramas.
couple. I mean, maybe I forget some things. I remember someone stole my jean jacket, and that was a really big deal.
That
Motherfucker.
was
That
a
was if
legendary Courtney moment.
that someone took, and I was like, I wasn't even that upset about it. I was like, so I gave it to you, and you lent it to your sister, and your sister lost it. Can you just replace my jacket? But oh my goodness, did it blow up. There was that drama. But I mean, I didn't get in
And it
fight
wasn't me, for the record. I would never, I
for the
cannot
record.
stress enough how much a 5'10" broad-shouldered Bronwin cannot fit into a Courtney jacket. Did not borrow Courtney's jacket and lose it.
Were you thinking that maybe you were being considered as
No,
the
it was
thief?
just the way Courtney said it.
Are we dealing with
Said it.
some suspicion?
I wanted the audience, for the listeners, I wanted them to understand that I, Bronwin, am not responsible for the loss of
I was
Courtney's
wondering.
jacket.
I think we all look phenomenal still.
Look at this hair.
Oh,
Always with the
yeah.
hair, right?
Yeah.
So good.
Ready to take on the world. Do you want to see mine? I look really trashy in mine. Just too much going on. Speaking of greasy, it's greasy. Definitely. It just, I feel
I don't know.
like
I would have gone there in high school if you were available.
Well, I don't know. Standards. Look at this. It's like
standards for you? Are you saying I wasn't good enough for you?
No, you. I'm like, no, not at all.
See, here we go. This is where it all comes out.
Look, that's what I look like. Can you see?
Where are you pointing?
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Okay. No, you're cute. You've got
You're
this like.
so cute. You had your hair curled.
No, that's how my hair looked.
Yeah, you got curly hair.
When I see that picture, I feel the awkwardness of like trying to do something. Like I'll put some hairpins in and lots of jewelry, and like it doesn't quite feel right, but I'm trying. So hopefully that looks good, because you're supposed to try, right? Like it was like a very, and again, I think this is for me rooted in the gender identity, that like always feeling like, okay, you got to look good, so you got to look feminine. But then if I went in that direction, it didn't feel good. It felt awkward and not like me, right? So, but then to pull it back and go more masculine also felt wrong. It's like, well, that's not what doesn't look good, because then you look like a boy, and that's not right. You're not a boy, right? So that middle road, that androgyny that I feel like I've connected to now, that feels good for me, right? I mean, yeah, I was so far away from knowing how to embody that in any way, shape, or form. And I mean, I admire Bronwin for many things, but just like how you got it in the fashion, right? Like you found your voice in your clothing. That for me has been part of the road too, is like, it's not like I have like crazy fashion now, but it's just like finding that space to wear things that feel good and then just doing it. Wow, I just said a lot based on you guys commenting on my photos. So thanks for listening to me.
You're welcome. My photo is what it is because I was angry that they wouldn't let me wear my cowboy hat in the photo. I hadn't really done anything to my hair because I had intended to wear my cowboy hat in the photo, and they said I wasn't allowed to, and I was kind of grumpy about it. But I have always had Pantene Pro V hair, so
yeah,
it doesn't take a lot.
You make cowboy cool. We're in Alberta, right? You're used to cowboy, but the way that you did cowboy was just cool.
Thank you.
Just because you're from Calgary or you're from Alberta, you're not a cowboy. But it was not a costume.
Unless you're Bronwin Parks.
It was, yeah, unless you're Bronwin Parks. And then it was like a, I don't know, superhero outfit.
It's a lifestyle.
A lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
It's just so good.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time and being so candid with us.
And it was so nice to see you again. This whole project has given us the opportunity to like look at our own vessels and contexts of weirdness that was going on, but then to like open up these other people's versions of like a similar story is just so fascinating, and with each person gives me like another piece of myself back. So just want to thank you for being a part of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming over and hanging out. Be sure to subscribe and get the next episode directly in your feed. Follow us on your favorite social platforms at late.in.88. We cannot wait to hear your angsty teenage stories. You can check out our website, latein88.com, for more resources on all the grungy topics we dig into this season. Late in 88 is created by Bronwin Parks and Elinor Svoboda. Edited by Elfire Media. Original music by Aaron Hutchinson. Mixed at Sound Lounge by T-Bone. Additional production by Women in Media Network. Artwork by Feisty Creative. We would like to acknowledge the generous support from Alberta Foundation for the Arts.